jungle will prevail where the strong prey on the weak. It will be like crossroads without traffic lights where vehicles force their way through and accidents constantly happen. As global challenges crop up and deficits in peace, development, security, and governance deteriorate, the development of the UN comes to a historical crossroads. Against this background, as a responsible major country, China proposed the Global Development Initiative, the Global Security Initiative, the Global Civilization Initiative, and the Global Governance Initiative to better defend and practice true multilateralism and promote the building of a more just and equitable global governance system. The four initiatives reflect the purposes and principles of the UN Charter and form an integrated system to help achieve prosperity through development, ensure stability through better security, enhance mutual trust through exchanges between civilizations, and pursue justice through good governance. No matter how the international landscape will evolve, China will firmly uphold the international system with the UN at its core, the international order based on international law, and the basic norms governing international relations based on the purposes and principles of the UN Charter. We will work with other countries to advance an equal and orderly multipolar world and a universally beneficial and inclusive economic globalization, and strive towards building a community with a shared future for humanity. Next one, please.
Good afternoon. Question.
法新社，美国总统特朗普昨天表示，中国国家主席习近平能对普京停止对乌克兰的战争产生重大影响。外交部有何评论？
Dialogue and negotiation is the only viable way out of the Ukraine crisis. Coercion and putting pressures on others will not solve any problem. Next one, please.
Good afternoon. Question from
拉通社，古巴谴责美国威胁其他国家放弃对联合国反对封锁决议的支持。此外，美国正在敦促其他国家停止向古巴电力系统输送资源。中方对美方上述策略持何立场？
我们注意到
We noted relevant report. Over the 6 decades of sweeping U.S. blockade have devastated the lives of the Cuban people. Instead of reflecting upon what it has done, the U.S. now goes even further in its coercive diplomacy. This seriously violates international law and the basic norms governing international relations, goes against the international humanitarian principles, puts itself on the opposite side of justice, and will certainly be rejected by the international community. China firmly opposes the U.S. blockade and sanctions against Cuba. Since 1992, at the UN General Assembly, China has voted for Cuba's resolution calling for an end to U.S. blockade for 32 consecutive times. Nearly 190 countries worldwide supported the resolution. It cannot be more clear what the people worldwide support and oppose. China will continue supporting the Cuban people in choosing the development path suitable to Cuba's national conditions, defending sovereignty and dignity, opposing external interference and blockade. We urge the U.S. to lift its blockade, remove Cuba from the so-called list of state sponsors of terrorism, and do more things conducive to the improvement of Cuba-U.S. relations and to peace and development of the region. Next one, please.
Question from AFP.
法新社，古巴逮捕了一名中国公民，他被美方通缉，他 他将留在古巴，有可能会被遣返。外交部对此有何评论？
We're not familiar with the specifics that you mentioned. China's position on cracking down on drug-related crimes is very consistent.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。总台中国之声记者提问：10月22号
CCTV on October the 22nd, the International Court of Justice, or ICJ, gave an advisory opinion saying that
as an occupying power and member of the UN, Israel is obliged to ensure the basic needs of people in Palestine, was China's comment. The ICJ gave an advisory opinion on humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people. It made clear that Israel is under obligations to work with the UN and other agencies to ensure the provision of humanitarian assistance to the population in the occupied Palestinian territory. It is a response to the concerns and expectations of the international community. As a responsible major country, China actively participated in the hearing process, submitted its written statement, took part in the public hearings, and gave a full account of China's position on major issues related to international law. These positions have been fully reflected in the opinion document. We will continue to play a constructive role in affairs related to international law and take concrete actions to uphold international fairness and justice and promote the progress of international rule of law. China's position on the Palestinian question is consistent and clear. We always uphold fairness and justice and firmly support the just cause of the Palestinian people. We hope the international community will follow the guidance of the ICJ's opinion document, ease the humanitarian crisis faced by the Palestinian people, and work relentlessly for the early, full, just, and lasting settlement of the Palestinian question. Next one, please.
Thank you. Question from Reuters.
路透社，商务部确认何立峰将与美方官员于周末在马来西亚会面。马来西亚还表示，李强总理会参加东盟峰会。你能否确认中方去参加东盟峰会的代表？
中方高度重。
China attaches high importance to its relations with ASEAN and to East Asian cooperation. We support Malaysia's rotating chairmanship of ASEAN. On the specifics that you mentioned, I'm sure that you are aware of the usual practice concerning China's attendance at those meetings. We'll release information in due course.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
谢谢。深圳卫视执新闻记者提问：近来中国风电。
Shenzhen TV. Recently, a Chinese wind turbine manufacturer called Mingyang announced a 1.5 billion euro investment plan to build a factory in Scotland, which has drawn wide attention. Some in the UK voiced concerns over possible national security threats, was China's comment. The Chinese government supports Chinese companies in carrying out international cooperation on the basis of mutual benefit and following market rules. That said, security guarantee is also a very important factor in their investment decision. In recent years, quite a few normal cooperation projects in the UK are politicized and linked to national security issues. In 2022,
since the UK National Security and Investment Act came into force, the UK government has blocked and put conditions on the approval of proposed acquisitions by Chinese companies in over 10 deals. The UK government took over the operation of British Steel after its acquisition by a private Chinese company and even requested another Chinese company in the retroactive review. In the completed deal, where the Chinese company acquired the stake of a British semiconductor company, undermining the security of the investment. China always opposes overstretching the concept of national security and politicizing trade issues. Unfortunately, some in the US and UK kept peddling the so-called China threat narrative that lacks basic common sense. If unchecked, such fact-distorting rhetoric will seriously undermine Chinese companies' assessment on the investment environment in the UK and will lead to even more prudent decisions.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
A question from AFP.
法新社，欧盟同意施加新的制裁，关于俄乌危机的制裁目标包括12个中国企业和3家印度企业，这些企业帮助俄罗斯规避对技术限制的制裁。中方对此有何评论？
欧方
The EU once again launched illegal unilateral sanctions against Chinese companies, citing Russia-related reasons. China firmly deplores and opposes this decision and has lodged serious protests with the EU side. As we've stressed on multiple occasions, China is not the creator of the Ukraine crisis nor a party to it. China is committed to promoting talks for peace, never provided lethal weapons to any party to the conflict, and exercised strict export control over dual-use articles. Most countries in the world, including those in Europe and the United States, continue to trade with Russia. The EU is in no position to point fingers at normal exchanges and cooperation between Chinese and Russian companies. We urge the EU to stop making an issue about China, stop undermining China's interests. It is not conducive to the sound and steady development of China-EU ties. We will take all measures necessary to firmly defend its legitimate rights and interests.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
Yomiuri. When Prime Minister Kishida and Prime Minister Ishiba took office, President Xi sent congratulatory messages. Will he send a congratulatory message this time?
China has made proper arrangement in accordance with diplomatic routine practice. China and Japan are each other's neighbors. China's fundamental position on its relations with Japan is consistent and clear. We hope Japan will work with us, abide by the principles laid out in the four political documents between China and Japan, honor its political commitments on major issues related to history and Taiwan, defend the political foundation of the bilateral relationship, and fully advance China-Japan strategic relations of mutual benefit.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
Thank you. Question from.
路透社。新任的日本首相对中日关系会产生什么样的影响？因为他上任初始就计划提升日本的军事力量，中方对此有何回应？
关于你提到的
Concerning the increase of defense budget of Japan, my response is that due to the history of Japanese aggression, its military and security moves have been closely followed by Asian neighbors and the international community. In recent years, Japan drastically adjusted its security and defense policies, increased defense budget, relaxed export control on weapons, and sought breakthroughs in military buildup. This has led to serious doubts among the international community and Asian neighbors over whether Japan is committed to exclusively defense-oriented policy and the path of peaceful development. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the War of Chinese People's Resistance Against Japanese Aggression and the World Anti-Fascist War, we urge Japan to deeply reflect on its history of aggression, be committed to peaceful development, be prudent in military and security areas, and avoid losing more trust from Asian neighbors and the international community. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人澎湃新闻提问。近日，美国智库大西洋
paper in the 3 reports recently released by the Atlantic Council, the US-based think tank accused China of its mining, forestry, and fishing activities in West Africa, which caused severe environmental degradation and severe corruption in West African countries. It called for stronger regulation over the cooperation, was China's comment. China's cooperation with Africa follows the principle of sincerity, real results, amity, and good faith, and the principle of pursuing the greater good and shared interests, and gives a strong boost to local economic and sustainable development. It's welcomed by governments and people in Africa. Africa's enthusiasm in having cooperation with China is the most convincing example of mutual benefit. The Chinese government keeps asking Chinese companies to strictly abide by local laws and policies, and we will continue giving restrictions to them in upholding green development and ensuring environmental protection throughout their cooperation in Africa. The U.S. think tank's reports contain deliberately vilification on normal cooperation with African countries, giving one-sided stories by confusing concepts, citing unverified information, and making biased conclusions. This is vilification against China's normal cooperation with West Africa. It is obviously ill-intentioned. Rather than pointing fingers and slinging mud at other countries, those in the U.S. need to do more real things for the African people. Next one, please.
Thank you. Question from Reuters. U.S.
路透社，特朗普政府称，将对俄罗斯主要的2家石油公司进行制裁，中方对此有何评论？
中方一贯反对。
China always opposes unilateral sanctions that has no basis in international law and unauthorized by UN Security Council.
下一个问题。
Next one, please.
还有其他问题吗？
Anything else?
好，今天的。
Then let's call it a day. Thank you for coming.